earlier. At that moment, I felt that this program is tailor-made for you because what you described in that email, it felt like somebody was describing me.
नहीं सर, मैंने नहीं बनाया, ये मैं क्रेडिट नहीं लूँगा, आपने बनाया है, मैंने उसको गाइड किया है बस। और हर माता पिता करता है ना, कौन नहीं करता है सर, कौन नहीं चाहता है सर।
Fortunately, sir, I cleared prelims, and then, sir, the same schedule for mains, FRC4 started at the same place, and again I made the same promise. चाहे वो AWFG का टेस्ट हो या SFG का हो या करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास हो, I'll do it, सब कुछ करूँगा जैसा जैसा मुझे बताया जा रहा है, and fortunately it worked again. Then I stayed there for interview also, and fortunately I got the rank.
And before coming to FRC, literally there was a lot of broken confidence, and I thought I would never be able to clear pre. This is the biggest hurdle of my life. But then ever since December, things changed, and I just followed the plan to the hilt. Gave every test, even the open test, all the simulators, the CSAT simulators also. It was for the first time that I cleared the prelims, I cleared the mains, and then I cleared the interview and finally got a job under Government of India. I was a part of FRC 1 and FRC 4. So I think FRC played an instrumental role in making me what I am today.
So I was scared, very honestly. I think a lot of my motivation for so many things is just a fear of failure. I'm not sure what a therapist or a psychologist might say about that.
मेरा नाम डॉक्टर आकांक्षा सिंह है। मैं गाज़ीपुर ज़िले से रहने वाली हूँ। मैं ऐसे पेशे से डॉक्टर हूँ। मैंने MBBS और मास्टर्स कर रखी है। मैं गायनोकोलॉजिस्ट हूँ। ये मेरा सेकंड अटेम्प्ट था जिसमें मेरी 301 रैंक आई है UPSC Essay 2025 में।
So first is a sense of discipline, whether that's SFG or sometimes that I followed in AWFG also for the mains part. A sense of discipline that this is the target for the day. You got to complete your syllabus, immaterial whether you're completing 80%, 70%, 100%, but you have to come up, show up every day and write the test.
Many congratulations to all of you who have cleared the prelims. Let us give them a big hand.
I subscribed to the second level of SFG. I think I told you so. I'd gotten to know about sir from a very close friend, which was honestly like my paradigmatic change, if you will call it, towards prelims preparation came when I heard sir speak on prelims.
%65% of IS toppers under rank 10 and 20 in CSE 2025 final list have been students of Mains Guidance Program MGP by ForumIAS Academy, including rank 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 17, 19. Mains Guidance Program MGP 2026-27. Join Mains Guidance Program, India's most trusted program for mains preparation. To know more about MGP, speak to an IS topper near you or email us at contact@forumias.com.
Good morning. So, AC चल रहा है? Welcome to the Essay Guidance Program orientation. But before we begin, do we have, how many of us have an idea about what the essays are for UPSC? Are you familiar with the paper pattern? How many of us are familiar? And how many of us are yet to write our first essay? How many of us are yet to write our first essay? Couple of us. So I'm Anika Gupta. I am Essay and CSAT faculty at ForumIAS, and I'll be taking the complete essay course. Now, so today when we discuss, you are going to walk away with a mindset. The expectation is that you should have a mindset, a strategy in place. You should know what and how to read toppers' essays. So effectively, we will be discussing what are essay tests, how it differs from GS, And most importantly, we'll also brainstorm together for you to get a hang of what is essay about. Some of us are from arts, some from humanities, engineers, lawyers. Now, there is a common misconception that if I'm from English literature, the essay is expected to be good. But if I'm from, let's say, I'm a lawyer or an engineer, this is a very common excuse. Ma'am, I'm an engineer, no, तो मुझे essay नहीं आता है. I'm not very good with essay writing. I'm not good with writing itself. But we will see that there are so many of us who were from different backgrounds. For example, we have Rahul. He was an engineer, but he still ranked 10. First mains, 142 marks. Rishabh Yadav, he's a lawyer, 131 marks. Rank 132. So your background does not really impact your essay writing. What matters, what affects, is how much do we practice? Do we take our reasons of, I'm from Hindi medium, I converted to English medium. My vocabulary is probably limited. So do we take those reasons with us, or are we able to work on them and improve? Yes? So that is essay. Now, first and foremost, we'll look at the syllabus that the notification gives us. The notification says that the syllabus for essay is paper 1. Candidates may be required to write an essay, to write essays on multiple topics. They are required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay, arrange their ideas in orderly fashion, and to write concisely. Credit will be given for effective and exact expression. So there are 4 things mentioned in the notification. These are also the broad benchmarks that we have to definitely fulfill. There's no alternative. These are: stay closely to the subject of the essay, make sure that your ideas are arranged in orderly fashion, write concisely, and credit will be given for effective and exact expression. The essay paper is divided into section A and section B. There are 4 topics per section. We are expected to write on 1 from each section. So this is also the only paper which gives us an option. It allows us to choose you to choose your question. Who are you? And you can write according to that. We are expected to write 1,000 to 1,200 words. Until now, we used to have 12 pages, but last year is also the first time we had 15 pages. A common mistake: a lot of us who had small handwriting decided to fill all the 15 pages. This is not the GS paper. This is a paper which gives its word limit as 1,000 to 1,200. So we were supposed to still stick to the word limit, because if you were writing all 15 pages with small handwriting, you were probably writing 1,800 words, and then you did not have enough time to write the second essay. We will be discussing this over the classes of how your strategy for essay writing should be for the whole paper. But an upfront disclaimer is, please do not feel that I mandatorily need to fill all 15 pages. Okay? 15 pages also is an accommodation for those who have bigger handwriting. It is an accommodation for them. It is not an obligation कि ये 15 pages तो भरने हैं. And then your second essay is only 10 pages or 8 pages. Now, having seen the syllabus, essay has a very high potential. Essay has high potential because we see there are students who have secured very high marks. For example, Rahul, Rishabh Yadav, 2025, rank 132, and score 131. So we have had students who have increased their marks. They were also sitting right here in the class and diligently working hard in the classes, apart from the class, at home, self-assessment, mentorship, and eventually they ended up increasing their marks by up to 30 marks, 34 marks, for example, Akash. We also have students who have increased marks by 61 marks. Now, I will discuss her particularly because some of us are very good with essay writing, We are very good with creative writing. How many of us feel essays are creative writing? A lot of us. And some of us get carried away. We feel this is an opportunity to write. We've never written. You know, our schooling system, our college, itna mauka nahi milta hai likhne ka. So now is an opportunity. You know, UPSC has given me philosophical topics. Pure armaan nikal ke aate hain. You know, we try to write everything, that philosophy of life, things that we are very passionate about. Now what happens, the consequence is that we lose marks in the essay. So there was this girl, she wrote her essay, second essay as a poem. And when the marks came, she scored 61 marks. Nonetheless, she said that, but ma'am, it is a globally accepted skill or way of essay writing. So why am I getting 61 marks? My essay should nonetheless be evaluated. Some of us would write our essay as a conversation. You know, that there are two parts of your essay. History is a series of victories won by scientific man over romantic man. You would write scientific man said this, romantic man said this. Scientific man said this, romantic man answered. Now what happens is it remains what it is, a conversation. That poetic essay remained what it was, a poem. It did not translate into an essay. When we write an essay, it is going to be very important for us to know why do we write essays. For creative writing, you have all the time in the world. It just takes 20-30 minutes to write. Maybe an hour, you could edit your drafts, but that would not be essay writing. That would not be the essay which goes in the exam. Over here, we write our essays with a purpose. And the purpose is it's a competitive exam. You are being tested on these criterias. Stay closely to the subject of the essay, arrange ideas in orderly fashion, concise, write concisely as well as effective and exact. So what the examiner is looking for is a person, and he wants to see, how do you think? Should I give him marks? Is he capable of being an officer, being selected as an officer? And that means it is different from creative writing and us wanting to express ourselves. It is about the examiner asking us a question. Though the question does not have those hook words attached, it does not say elucidate, examine, comment. It just gives us one statement, open-ended statement, and then it says, tell us what do you think about it? Who are you? Okay? So if you have, a lot of us raised hands for creative writing, I will say, please keep those passions separate. Yes, your writing skill will improve if you do engage in a lot of writing, but here we write with an objective. And the objective is simple, straightforward. You have to address the topic, stay closely to the subject, write concisely, and everything that we read. Now, so when we discuss essays, we also say that, we saw the potential. It has a potential of increasing up to 35 marks, 60 marks, depending on where we are. For example, Vanaj, he increased his marks from 77 to 107, from 61 to 122, from 97 to 131. So these are mark increases which are possible. But there comes a problem. We all know essay. It's equal to half of your optional. But optional is tough. Optional requires few months of preparation. It is new for us, for most of us. And we give a lot of time to optional. An essay which is equal in marks, probably equal even in its scoring potential as an optional, we forget that we have to prepare it. So what happens is we get messages like, ma'am, I did not score good in essay. I have been writing since 2 attempts, but my essay score is stuck at 89, 83. I scored only 86 in essay, 77. And all of these messages were received after the prelims. So if you know that essay is your weakness, that is when you start studying it. You start preparing it. You should not prepare your essay only after prelims. Nonetheless, this is also a disclaimer for those who are preparing for 2027. It is also for those who are still wondering, should I do essay now? In case I don't qualify my prelims, should I do it later? Essay is a slow burn paper. So now is always the right time. Okay? Now, when we say essays, so we know that it has a potential. We know that we should be preparing, but we don't. Why? Because it's easy to take our mind always goes and takes the easy road. The easy road being, and this is also a query I get a lot. Ma'am, I have done lots of quotes. Is your essay preparation done? Yes, ma'am, I have like a book full of quotes I've learned. I have lots of anecdotes, examples. I've read 10 topper essays. My essay preparation's done. I can write lots of quotes. Then, but the most difficult part is knowing what your arguments are. Quotes are not our content. Value addition supports your answer, but unless you've done your basic books, you're not writing GS answers. Your GS answers are not just data, right? So and that is the easy route in essay, because the difficult part is thinking. So the tough part, I would say, is thinking. Now, when we write our GS answers, so let's say this is your page. It has a question on top. You give some introduction relevant to the question, exactly relevant to the question. You make a box for first heading. You write 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, after this 1, 2, 3, 4, you do give data, but you give data as examples. Not as that data is not the only thing that's visible in your answer. Correct? Data is not the only thing. Now, this data is equal to quotes. So what we forget is when you are preparing your quotes, you are only preparing the additional part. What happened to your argument which was supposed to be here? Your data was good because you had a point. If you write only your data, I assume you're not getting marks. Yes? So if we are writing only our points, there's a question and you've just given data, marks are not there. Similarly, in an essay, what happens, there is a tendency, counter to this, we write our essay and we say, I'll give this is your page, you give one line of argument probably, and then you give a longish example. And we are going to look at such examples of essays. So now what happens? You have just given, this is your point and this is your example, which was supposed to be your data. Now your point does not have value. It is very flimsy, it is very weak, whereas your example is a story in itself. And then we say marks nahi aa rahe. So essay is misunderstood because of this, because we feel arguments thode mushkil hain, kaise hain. We find it, before we start thinking what is an argument, we learn an introduction, body, conclusion format, and we say that I just know there is a structure, kuch sochna hai, this is a framework with which I'm going to think of my arguments, but we forget to question. We are not curious, why am I thinking of arguments? What is the purpose being served? Why am I writing those arguments? And if you know why you're writing those arguments, it is going to help you understand and get your score better. The minute we understand, these are small changes. The minute you understand, you will see that your marks in your essay paper skyrocket and increase considerably. This is also why 30 marks, 60 marks improvement in 1 year happened. In a paper which we say, marks kaise milte hain? A lot of us have a thought, examiner ke mood ke according milte hain. We don't know the exact marking criteria. This paper also does not have keywords like GS. GS has keywords, this paper does not. We don't know what to write. It's a philosophical quote. So I appeal to everyone, do not just work the easy way. Do not think, meko data, codes, बहुत सारे लेने हैं. Think, I have to learn how to think. Data will support your argument. It will not be your argument. So please make sure when you write your essays, you remember this. Now, another easy thing is that we have an excessive focus on GS. We say, GS kar lete hain. We also hear a lot of mentors recommend this. A lot of seniors advise, essay to ho jayega. Aakhri 10 days mein dekh lenge. First do your GS. Now, the problem with essays is that essays are slow burn. So you have to, they do not need, let's say, 6 hours every day. You know the way GS needs. GS and optional, 10 hours every day you are studying and then you say I've completed. Essay as a subject would require just maybe 30-40 minutes, but 30-40 minutes given consistently for you to reflect an improvement. So if when you start preparing for your essay, please make sure that you're giving just 30-40 minutes. And it is going to lead to a considerable improvement instead of the last 10 days before the exam being the only time when you write your essay. Because tab time nikal jayega, you will not have it again, and you'll wonder, pehle hi kar lete choti activities, small activities, okay? Now, so what are these small activities that we do? So the small activities that we do should be, for example, thinking of different introductions, thinking how to introduce, thinking of different arguments, associating different PYQ themes, which we will do in the classes. But these are the type of things that we do. Just perfecting our grammar, maybe improving our handwriting. You can't improve your handwriting in a week. You don't need handwriting classes, but there would be few alphabets which you have to work on, which will make your handwriting seem more legible and clear. And you will have to do that slowly and steadily. So in essay, we see that small changes will lead to big outcomes. Changes such as you were writing one-line argument, you slowly started giving a little more, and you see an improvement in marks. Whereas small mistakes are also disastrous. The topic was, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. And you ended up writing, somebody who has a lot of interest in life and philosophy suddenly started writing about what is happiness and gave 2 long pages on what is the philosophy of happiness, how it is same across different religions and different places, how it has stood the test of time, subjective but objective, something. But now that's not the topic. The topic was very specific. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. But one student got carried away and made a small mistake of stretching the meaning of happiness. Another made the mistake of misunderstanding a topic, one keyword of the topic, or having a very narrow interpretation, small mistakes. But they really tank your essay. Your score, which was expected to be very high, will suddenly drop. And this is also the reason why when we have seen lots of students, lots of aspirants who have scored 120 one year, 125, and the next year the score drops from 125 to, let's say, 85. If the marks increase, they decrease as well. Essays, that paper, it has the ability to increase your marks, but also take down your marks from 131 marks to 94 marks. But why is this happening? Because once we score good, we feel कि अब इसमें strategy sorted है. It's like GS. I know my keywords, I know what I'm doing, and I don't need to practice, I don't need to brainstorm, I know it all. I secured good marks. But the problem is, the journey from, let's say, 125 to 85 happens because of this confidence. This is overconfidence. Essay is about thinking. So when you stop thinking, when you stop interpreting different topics, what happens is you lose your touch. वो आ जाते हैं marks, but not to the potential that you would have. So it is going to be very important that you keep brainstorming. There's a seat right here or over there. So this is why small mistakes are also going to be disastrous, and it's going to really affect. Small misconceptions about the topic, assumptions that we make, they are going to impact your essay score. And we end up making assumptions without even knowing that we've made them. And we'll see how. So now, before we move forward, my question to you is, although I've just touched upon this briefly, how, in your opinion, is GS paper different from essay paper? Or how is essay paper different from GS? Length of answers. Okay? Length of answers. What else? How is GS different from essay? See, one rule of essay class is going to be that you'll have to think. A question as simple as how is GS different from essay? It's you thinking. I can very clearly, say, देखो 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are the differences, and you'll say, बिल्कुल पता था हमें. This is not a prelims exam where the answer is written right there. It's not your prelims paper. So, and in essay, you have to think. So please, let's try doing that from today with a very simple question. How is essay different from GS? Multidimensional. Essay has to be multidimensional, okay? But even answer has to be. Okay, but multidimensional. What else? In GS. So I'll say there are multiple layers involved. And depth. Layers plus depth. Yes. Okay. Okay. Keywords in GS but not in essay. Anything else? In essays, articulation and expression is much more important as compared to GS. Expression. What else is different? I would say that, okay, but in GS, the priority of points is important, but yes, the flow is not there. In essay, we have to ensure that our thoughts are one after the other, one foot in front of the other from page 1 to last page. Yes. Flow. Yes, absolutely. Expression, language, grammar, very, very important. Nobody said this till now, but I will also put handwriting. For those, this is also a subtle message to those who feel कि handwriting किसी और को पढ़नी पड़ती है आपकी. I have had such students. They've brought their essay and I've had to tell them, I won't be able to read your essay, please read it for me. Unfortunately, the examiner does not have you. He is forced to read it. So today I'm going to put you through that. You'll have to read bad handwriting too. Yes. So in GS, we have diagrams. What else? We do not draw diagrams in essay at all. No diagrams. Time. Okay. So I will say here there is a time shortage, but there is more time here. How many of you feel essay में बहुत time होता है? Nobody is agreeing to you. Okay. So in GS, there is less time to think. I will say no brainstorming. Over here, you get time for brainstorming. Yes, you get 20, 30 minutes for brainstorming your essay. Bullet points, keywords, bullet points, right? So this is also that in essays, you do not write bullet points. You do not write 1, 2, 3, 4. These are my 4 arguments. Some of us believe that the connecting words are firstly, secondly, thirdly. They are just like saying 1, 2, 3, 4, except in paragraph form. Yes. So in questions in GS, there is just one interpretation. Very, very important is multiple interpretation. Multiple interpretation, very, very important. Because this is the core of the essay paper. You know, that every topic can be interpreted differently. Okay, so he says that in an essay paper, we have in GS, we have to toe the government line and we have an obligation to be optimistic, whereas in essay, we can be slightly antithetical, not too pessimistic, of course. But we can do that in GS also. And yeah, I will rather say that in essays, you have to be very optimistic. You have to be careful about how you blame something. You have to be very careful. There was this essay which I used to show till last year, which said that, which showed a person to be very elitist. It said that poor people, beggars in particular, they have high dreams, whereas they refuse to work. Okay, now what happens is, likh to diya flow mein. But the message it says is, this is also a very deep personal thought, that poor refuse to work. You become an officer, the people that we cater to is not just going to be those who are educated. A bigger bunch, a bigger section of the society is who actually need your service as a civil servant. And then we say they refuse to work. And we did not even realize when we wrote that. There was another essay which said, the topic was, a nation's greatness is measured by, hear me carefully, a nation's greatness is measured by how we treat its weakest section, especially children. How we treat its weakest section, especially children. And the student with super high conviction wrote, the government does a favor on us when it announces schemes for the disabled. And it was contested. So in a mentorship, I said, ये क्या लिख दिया? बोलते हैं, बिल्कुल सही लिखा है, government ये करती है. That strong belief is visible. And now the examiner, when he evaluates your essay, he circles it and he says, penalty. I'm not giving marks too high. You have put an upper cap on your marks. And this is how we do that. We don't even realize which of our thoughts are optimistic, pessimistic. They are our assumptions and our beliefs, ideologies. And as a civil servant, one thing that we are expected to do is leave our ideology behind. Those strong opinions in favor of or against someone, they will never affect your work, because then they create a bias and discriminate. They make you discriminatory. So, essays ke andar, you can be pessimist, you can point out problems, but it will depend how you point out problems. So, anyways, just to answer, in case you are curious, why did he feel? He said, because the government says Modi ka wada. So, government is doing us a favor. Now, that was a perspective. And now what is important in an essay where I write multiple interpretations, it is perspective. This brings the importance of perspective to the essay paper. With what perspective are you writing? Who are you? Are you a person who's just pointing out problems? Are you a person who says, I am also telling you a problem very briefly, but more importantly, I'm suggesting a solution. And that is more of an officer-like quality. That's a personality trait. Pointing problems versus solution-oriented, right? So this is the difference. I'll comment a little for length of answers and time. I will now comment a little on these points of differences. In GS paper, we have very fixed amount of time where we say that 10 marks question, very rightly said, 7 minutes. 10 marks, 7 minutes. Right? 10 marks question, 7 minutes. 2 pages. Now, essay is, so I will write 2 pages, more than 10 marks, 2 pages. This means, and essay is roughly 10 to 12 pages for all of us. With normal handwriting, it's roughly 10 to 12 pages, 100 words per page. So when you write, let's say, 10 to 12 pages, 10 to 12 pages, how many minutes is this? Unitary method. It is how many? 43 minutes. So on average, the exact average is 43 minutes. Whereas UPSC is giving us how much time? 90 minutes. 3 hours is for 2 essays. This is one essay. One essay is 10 to 12 pages. So UPSC is giving us 90 minutes. If we were on a GS speed, when we are rushing, as you very rightly said, there is no time to think and brainstorm. And the word limit is also fixed. Keywords are fixed. Since keywords were fixed, since the flow was not needed, since we could use our space with diagrams and maps. So what happened was we had lesser time. The question was very specific. You just had to understand the demand of the question and answer. Whereas essay has almost double the time, a little more than double the time. Why? Because in the essay, the paper pattern itself tells you, take a step back, stop, pause. I've given you a question. First you think, what are you writing on? Then you think for 30 minutes. So the difference is 45 minutes. You still get to think for 30 minutes and you still have 15 minutes extra. What are those 15 minutes for? Language, handwriting, धीरे धीरे लिखेंगे, अच्छे से लिखेंगे. You will think and be careful about exactly what you are writing. And 30 minutes brainstorming, thinking, and 1 hour of writing. So we are able to use our time. So I hope this is a message to you also. When you write your essay, make sure that 30 minutes go to brainstorming. And when we brainstorm, the first thing that we do is we do not say, okay, topic aaya, quickly let me think of dimensions. Let me think of arguments and then write my essay. We are going to do it differently. We will practice. But the first question you have to think is, what is the meaning of this topic? And that is what this time difference has been given to you for. You have to tell what is the meaning of this topic. Why? Because meaning of the topic is, everyone has a different perspective. So a glass half full or half empty, that's the difference of perspective. As I said, a poor beggar does not want to work. They have high aspirations, but they refuse to work. That's perspective. So you have to make sure what perspective are you showing in the exam. And that brainstorming will take 20 to 30 minutes. Now, so GS paper, in my opinion, also tests what you know. It tests what you know, whereas essay tests who you are. So GS will test how much have you studied, your Lakshmikant, how much content do you know, how familiar are you with world events, how do you analyze and put them together. Whereas an essay does not tell you what to write, what examples to give. You writing an essay today versus a year later will be different. So what is an essay? GS is pressure cooker. You can just study, give long sittings, and your GS is ready. Whereas for essay, you have to do it very, very slowly. You have to look at your own weak areas, personality flaws in our approach and basic assumptions that we have internalized over the years. When we overcome them is when we start looking at things in a different way, a broader perspective, and that is when we score. And over here, I'll write a bigger problem is that we do not think. Our education system does not promote thinking, due to which most of us will say कि ma'am is going to give some value addition points. बस हमको वो 4 point क्लास में मिल जाएंगे, हम घर जाएंगे, हमारा essay ready हो जाएगा. But the problem is, I will not do that. I will not share only value addition points. First, I will ask you to generate them. अगर आप ही नहीं सोच रहे हो तो आप essay के paper में कैसे सोचोगे? You don't know the topic. In GS, you could predict themes. In essay, you can predict themes in the context of, will it be action? Will it be, taking proactive action? It's about courage, change. But उसमें क्या? सोचना आपको है. And if you don't know how to think, me giving those 5 value addition points to you is not helping you. So instead, what we will do in class is we are going to work together and I'll help you change your points, help you recognize what is the mistake you make in them. But of course, the key thumb rule will be your interaction. If I don't hear answers, I can't change them. So the key rule is going to be your interaction. So in short, I can say that GS is mechanical, essay is not. Essay is the only paper where you have to internalize who you are, internalize changes and reflect them in your copy, in your essays. Now, once again, syllabus. Candidates may be required to write essays on multiple topics. So I please want you to notice that this was not always the pattern. There was also a time when students were writing essay on a single topic. Then long ago, we started writing on 2 topics. When they were writing on a single topic, the topic was very GS. All that was expected was इस पे जितना आता है सब लिख दो. जितने ज़्यादा पेज भर दिए, more you write, the better your marks are. Then it changed and we started getting 2 topics. So there may come a day, you go to the essay exam hall, you're prepared with 2 topics, 1.5 hours each, and then UPSC says, no, I'm going to take 3 topics from you today. So you should be mentally prepared that if it's 3 topics, it's 1 hour per topic. The word limit has decreased, the structure remains, and this is why it's important to understand the structure. Structure remains the same, brainstorming time reduced, the amount of depth reduced. Everything else, same. But UPSC is today in an overdrive, so come someday that happens. It is totally possible because UPSC ने सिर्फ इतना बोला है, write essays on multiple topics, nothing else. Which means it's important for us to know why do we write an essay paper. Again, question to you. Why are we writing an essay paper? Tell me. So I will say that essay exposes, should I say essay exposes our blind area? Can I say that? It exposes our weakness. You know, it exposes who we are. Okay, anyone else? Situational reaction test. Okay, so it is also how you react to a situation. Situational reaction. Anyone else? Why are you writing your essay paper? What is visible to the examiner? You know, one second.
The way you put your ideas forward, or the way you think, how you communicate with yourself, or anybody else.
The way how you communicate, how you put yourself. Your flow to ho gaya वैसे, but okay, flow and how you communicate. Communication skills actually. All of this can be put together under one if I have to write concisely as communication skills. Anyone else? Up. Reports.
So it is very important for the civil servant to anticipate future externalities and have a broader perspective. And I think somewhere it shows in their plus the giving expression thought.
Communication skill. So he says that we are going to be future civil servants, draft policies, read reports, prepare reports. So it's going to be very, very important for us that what perspective do we have on different things. So I'll write perspective. Anything else? Grammar. You know, if you have to read reports and write reports, of course, language is important. So language. और कुछ नहीं पता चलता है इससे से और क्या पता चलता है पर्सनालिटी ओके हाउ डज एसे टेल अबाउट योर पर्सनालिटी व्हाट डज इट टेल हाउ okay personality how so last seat you had wanted to add yes so now a very very good point personality and our traits and our individual personal experience so this means the example and the data we were talking about in an essay is not just quotes that you've learned it's not just anecdotes but it's also our own experience you've experienced something you could write that and use that in your essay paper but of course you will have to practice beforehand so personality I will say our experience also gets reflected when we said expose our weakness I would say our inner thoughts get revealed and as I had said earlier essay is going to tell your examiner who are you because when you write 10 pages we get carried away and you know the assumptions that we've made we expose them in the exam I've given you 2 fine examples and they really happened you know so so this means whether you look at this glass as half full or half empty, and what you write in the exam is also what the examiner is trained in looking at, reading between the lines. So he would know what you've written, right? So this is why essay paper is important, because GS has already told your ability to analyze. Essay tells what kind of a person are we, okay? And we'll look at that with the help of examples. Now, the syllabus says, first point, stay closely to the subject of the essay. So for this, my question is, when we say stay closely to the subject of the essay, it means you have to make sure that you write about the topic. Now, I've given the topic already. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. So what happens is we stick to the idea, but instead of sticking to the idea, we stick to keywords. So some of us, we will not even realize when we are using only the keywords again and again. As if, क्यों? क्योंकि ज़रूरी था keyword use करना है. Whether it reflects the meaning, the argument or not, नहीं कर रहे. फिर marks will not come despite you doing everything correct. So what is important is not keywords. Not just keywords. Keywords, यहाँ पे क्या है? Keywords of the topic. But instead of keywords, we have to focus on the core idea. It is when we say subject of the essay, the subject of the essay is not the words of the essay. It is the idea. Here, some of us, common understood notion outside is define the keywords of your topic. How many of us feel we should do that? Define the keywords of the topic. Easy way to do it. Very concisely, but yes. Now, the problem with that approach is when we define keywords of the topic, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Two keywords, happiness and path. You give your own intention and understanding of happiness right at the start. That is option number 1. So first option, you define your keyword explicitly at the start. Second option is you define it as a part of usage. You use that keyword, and as a part of usage, you define it. When I say usage, as a part of your argument. Wherever the meaning from the common understood notion was varying, you define your keyword. So when you define it upfront at the start, it seems slightly, I will say, mechanical. Why? Because compassion tha topic mein humne define kar, everybody knows compassion, happiness. So what happens is you are wasting your space. You are making it feel mechanical. But when a different meaning was supposed to come in, let's say at the time of usage, is when you use that meaning, it becomes more organic and natural. It has a flow. Let's say the topic is terrorism anywhere is a threat to democracy everywhere. Now, terrorism has a very common understood meaning, which is the use of arms, violence against a country. And hence, terrorism anywhere is a threat to democracy or prosperity everywhere. Now, let's say you have a different meaning of terrorism, which is anything which evokes fear. You know, we say that a child feels terrorized. Somebody, a parent or some adult wants to go slap a child, a child feels terrorized. Similarly for animals, they feel terrorized. Domestic violence, a woman feels terrorized. So this means terrorism could have a wider meaning, but the most common understood meaning was terrorism in context of security. So when you give an argument that this can happen at any level and not just the state, is when you will define it instead of right at the front. Why? Because the examiner has assumed and understand that आपको meaning आता था तभी तो आप उस पे इतना सारा 10-page analysis लिखोगे. If you did not know the meaning, how would you write it? If the examiner did not know the meaning, how would he evaluate it? So meaning everybody knows. So skip the meaning, focus on arguments and define. Why? Because subject of the essay was not the keywords, it was the idea. It was the idea behind the complete topic. And these are small mistakes that we make. We spend one entire page defining keywords, one after the other. Instead, we stay closely to the subject of the essay. So when we say closely to the subject of the essay, it means stick to the idea, don't beat around the bush, be very specific. Do not write everything you know. What is a tendency? कुछ पूछा है, तो we will write what we know. We don't do that in GS. We write as per the demand of the question. In essay paper, you should write as per the demand of the topic. There could be different topics which are based around the same theme, but the content will change. Why? Because the idea will decide what you are writing on. So always do not write everything you know, and write what is relevant, structured, and sharp. Only that is relevant. We will have lots of examples. Sare nahi likh sakte. Choose your best example and write that. So let's read an essay on this. The topic is a self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living. This is the copy. I have also typed it for your legibility, easier to read. This is page 1. It's the introduction. A self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living. Let us take a trip down to the 1990s in a small Orthodox village of Haryana. No photos. Padh lo. A state infamous for gender discrimination of young sportsmen lived here with a dream to win a gold medal for his country. But adversity struck. Plagued with an injury, his career ended his dream unfulfilled. He decided his son would fulfill his dream, but this dream too was shattered after the birth of his fourth daughter. Depressed, heartbroken, and shattered, he sat down and began introspecting as to why this was happening to him. Just then, it struck him. A gold is a gold, whether a boy gets it or a daughter. His line of thinking changed. In a land where girls are married off at 14, if not already killed at birth, he started to train his daughter to wrestle. The society laughed, family passed mockery comments on him, but he did not stop. Eventually the day came and his oldest daughter won a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. This is the story of the Fogarth family. In an alternate course of events, had the stereotypical family standards been followed, the Fogarth family would have ceased having no male successor. But here, with a change in attitude and alteration of perspective, the Fogarths have been immortalized in the pages of Indian history, thus proving the age-old quote, a self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living. During the course of this essay, we will further go on to proving how change is the only constant, and in the absence, even the mightiest nations. Next page. This is 3 pages complete that you read. I'm going to go back to page 1. I'm going to now ask you to please read this very carefully and think what was right and what was wrong. I'll give you time, but first, just read. I will ask you myself. Read this. You've read this? Padha sabne? Okay. So you've framed your thoughts. What do you think is right? What's worked and what could be better? So first question, what worked? Tell me. Okay. Okay. Bias, where is it? Okay, lift hair. Okay, this is the bias. Anywhere else there was a bias? Okay, and with a change, no. No. If stereotypical family standards have been followed, the Fogarth family would have ceased having no male successor. They would have just ended, you know. So, nonetheless, okay. Anything else which reflects a bias, or it feels like it's a personal statement? It comes from deep feelings of patriarchy, of having suffered from patriarchy, I would say. Does it feel like that? बहुत सारी suffering ऐसे दिल से बाहर आ रही है, लग रहा है? And this is how our personality becomes visible. Tell me.
whatnot, but it was shattered after the birth. So I don't think
Too much detail. I will also say that, so what worked, that at least the thought was something right. He knew what he is writing, the student, she knew what she is writing, that a self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living. The idea was very clear that she wanted to show change in the perspective of a person. But the problem is that a deeper bias came in where personal thoughts and feelings started showing. And we see that it became too stretched. When it was 3 pages, this portion of your essay is already covered. 25-30% essay is gone. To be exact, 27%. 27% essay gone. And doing what? Writing an introduction. An introduction is not complete. It is going to carry on to page 4. Yes? So this is the problem. The problem was it had too many details. It said that, ab kya zarurat thi itni kahani? Okay, and how many of us, when we read the first page, we knew it's the Fogarth family? All of us knew? But that comes on page 3, at the top. Ab itna, now what our thoughts are, हम ये सुन के आते हैं कि surprise build करेंगे. You know, build an element of surprise. And how, and do you feel that this was an unneeded surprise? सबको पता था. अगर हमें पता था, the examiner definitely knew. सबको पता है. But अब हो क्या रहा है कि we were building an element of surprise, so we gave a very unnecessary detail how there was this unorthodox village in Haryana, then birth of fourth daughter, matlab there were 4 daughters, and the father had a dream, gold medal for his country, but he had an injury. अब इसकी क्या ज़रूरत है? सिर्फ इतना ही कह देते कि orthodox village था. This was enough. Orthodox village. So actually, before I tell, I want you to think, if you were removing all the unnecessary details, what would you retain? Maybe use your pen and paper? Yes, you should. And think, what would you... नहीं है तो borrow कर लो. Borrow it. Take a page. Yes, tear a page. Now you have to write, what details would you write? You could just put down 5 bullet points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 communicates my story. But think, what are those 5 points from the story that you write? This is what the essay will be. Sorry. Anika, एक पेज दे दो. नहीं ले लो. Right? Maybe I'm good. You're just noting down the details, not an introduction, just the points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tells the story. Written? Yes. So, we cut out all the details, right? Some of us have still written that we will write about his family situation. We will write that how he was suffering and his dream could not have been met until he changed, and how he challenged his upbringing or the societal norms. इतनी ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. You could have just started with how we've all heard of Forgot sisters. They're an outcome of the very change. You know, they epitomize it, where their parent, their father, had the courage to break the societal norms and change and bring in that change. Change starts at home, something. And it would have been enough. This entire detail about him suffering his injury in his career. So now please self-check yourself to see what is the detail that you kept and what is the detail that you missed. Now the details such as injury of his career, ended his dream, he decided his son, nahi chahiye. वो already orthodox patriarchal society थी, तो he must have decided that. लिखने की जरूरत नहीं थी इतनी. It's a story now. So but this dream was shattered, nahi chahiye. After the birth of the fourth daughter, then depressed, heartbroken and shattered, too much of shattering as very rightly said. He sat down and began introspecting. He should have introspected in line 2. This should have happened in line 2 where he sat down and introspected. Then, so we keep the introspecting, yes. Then why this was happening, just then it struck him, a gold is a gold. Whether a boy gets it or a daughter, chalo, theek hai. You know, it's a moment, that epiphany, that he realizes that anybody could do it. But then again, girls are married off at 40. Arey, likh to diya, orthodox patriarchy hai. Why do you have to build that entire bhumika? You know, we call this bhumika building. You tell the entire scene as if you're going, ekdam scene ja raha hai movie shoot hone ke liye. You have to give very detailed instructions of what is this about. Ab ye obvious tha na? Orthodox village in Haryana, patriarchal village, isn't it obvious? Yes? तो ये नहीं चाहिए था, जहाँ ठीक है ये भी नहीं चाहिए, married off at 14, if not already killed at birth, very very crude language, not killed at birth, crude language. नहीं चाहिए. Started to train his daughter to wrestle, चलो ठीक है. Society laughed, again, too much stretching. Society laughed, family passed mockery comments, but he did not stop in the face of resistance by the society. In the face of comments by the society, full stop. Itni detail nahi chahiye thi again. Then, not needed. Eventually the day came. Day should have come on page 1 again. The day came. It's coming at the last line of page 2. And that too one line. Abhi us pe aur kahani hai, page 3. So this is also page 1. Page 1. Came a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. This is the story of Forgot. Oh wow, Forgot family. In an alternate course of events, had the stereotypical family standards been followed, they would have these. Again, not needed. Right? Again, it's too much commentary. Too much. No, but there was a change in attitude and alteration of perspective. Jo dikha diya hai, a gold is a gold. Wahin pe aa jana chahiye tha. Yes, this should have been with a gold is a gold. Boy wins it or the daughter. They have been immortalized in the pages of Indian history is showing off your language skills. You know, you've learned few words, keywords, and then we say they have been immortalized in the pages of Indian history. No, this is very, very big words for a gold medal, Commonwealth gold medal, you know, like Commonwealth gold medal. So it is a big thing for the Forgot family, nonetheless. Yes, but we use words according to the intention that we have. We should be careful about the choice of words. For example, I was reading an essay a few days back. The students writing as if it's a rant about students going to do MBA without work experience. And then says they are trying to evade the responsibilities of adulthood and the nostalgia of the past. Now, what nostalgia of the past? Are they trying to live? There are two different contexts. One is evading, a negative. One is nostalgia of the past, always positive, but written together. Confused, right? Similarly, immortalized in the pages of Indian history, thus proving the age-old quote. Now, does this automatically prove the age-old quote? No. So what worked was the idea that the student had. What did not work was the length, the stretch. 30% of your essay cannot be an introduction. So those of who say, can I write my introduction over 2 pages? That's your answer. 20% of your essay. Second thing that did not work was details. Too many details which opened a big window into the person. person's life. Give a small window, not such big a window, small window, right? Third problem. Third problem is that the quote has been written, thus proving. But the student did not put in effort to show thus proving. Just writing, see, a lot of us, we write an anecdote. It's a story. An anecdote is a story which shows your topic. And then we say, thus proving the topic. Now the difference is, when you just write thus proving, you are not showing. You are not showing or telling rather that why is this anecdote correct. So what had to change was, the topic is a self that goes on changing, is a self that goes on living. You had to, instead of making it a part of your story, over here it's been written, but it looks like a part of the story. It's a continuation of the story. So instead, we would have broken the paragraph and then given in the next paragraph that Fogart's sisters won because they changed and therefore continue to live. Now it feels like a summary in the context of why you were writing your introduction. I hope you see that difference. Yes? And it's a small change. It is already written, but when you break the paragraph, you write it in the next, you have broken the story and told the examiner, my story is over. I hope you see it like that, right? And then you say, see, I gave you an entire story. This is the reason why it's relevant to the topic. Okay? So this is what worked and what did not work in this introduction. Now, okay, next thing which did not work, very, very important. This reminds me, very rightly said. The thesis statement, this is the thesis statement. The thesis statement पे किसी ने comment नहीं किया था. The thesis statement says, during the course of this essay, we will further go on to proving how change is the only constant. This was not the topic. Topic is not this. But it continues and says, and in the absence even the mightiest nations. So you're also telling your example here. You know, it's a very narrow interpretation of the topic. And we are telling if change is the only constant, and if not, even the mightiest nations might fail. So it's you've really limited the scope of your essay, which is not a good thing to do. Second, the second part of the syllabus, the second keyword is arrange ideas in orderly fashion. Why do you think it's important? Arrange ideas in orderly fashion. Why is it important? Sorry? Okay, it shows logical thinking. What else? What does this show? Okay, so this means it is flow and it makes it easy for the examiner, okay, right? I will write easy for examiner. What else? Why else is UPSC, very categorically saying arrange ideas in orderly fashion? What does it tell about you? Structured thinking. It shows structure in your thought process. Structure in thought. Anything else? What does it show? Topic. It maintains the context of the arguments. It ensures that when you read an essay, you're not really hopping around, एक point आया, फिर दूसरा आया, फिर वापस argument आगे चले गए. No. You read it as a story, as a storyline where this happens, leads to A, leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. Not very, I will say explicitly, this is exactly what's happening, but it still has a flow where A impacts B, impacts C, impacts D. So your big point comes first, then a narrower, right? What this also changes, arrange your ideas in orderly fashion. If we are not writing, it means we are writing without a purpose. जो आया जैसे आया लिख दिया. Okay, second mistake. Now, if you did not have examiner gave you 30 minutes to brainstorm. Technically 45 if we go by the speed of GS. You did not put in effort to organize your thoughts, to think what do I say first and what do I say later. We have all heard speeches. We have all seen movies. They were not made कि जैसे जैसे वो जो डायरेक्टर साहब थे उनको ख्याल आ रहा था, he was making scenes. फिर इकट्ठे जोड़ दिए, one, two, third, one after the other, and movie got made. Your script is not written like that. You think of scenes. So when you think of a speech, you think of different parts. What do I want to communicate? So when you say arrange their ideas in orderly fashion, you are communicating with your examiner and you convey to him, I took a moment out and thought. I respected you and I thought, what do I say first? What is more important? You have the ability to think logically. What do I say first? What do I say later? I could figure that out. What is more important? Secondly, you could also reflect effort, clarity of thought, and approach. You knew what should be said when. This is why mostly we keep our arguments first and counter arguments later in the essay. Because counter arguments largely negate and expand the scope of the topic. So within the arguments, you will keep a certain flow of thought. We will look at an example for that, but I hope I'm able to communicate why arrange your ideas in orderly fashion, because you have put in the effort to think, analyze, decide that these are the 10 arguments I had in total, and what do I say first, what do I say later. So we'll read this now. This says, India in the pre-Gandhian phase of freedom movement was clueless on how to attain freedom. But with the arrival of Gandhi, India started to walk on the path of freedom, which ultimately made India free. This is page 2 of an essay. I forgot to write the page number. Page 2 of an essay. Can you tell me what is wrong here? Yes, it sounds as if Gandhi alone did everything. All the freedom fighters before him were null and void. For a lack of better word, they were null and void. They had no role to play. No one before Gandhi, probably no one after Gandhi. Second, it is very negative, and it comes on page 2. Yes, and this is how subconsciously we write some things. So, India in the pre-era Gandhian phase of freedom movement was clueless. Second observation, it does not deliver a message. It's just a statement. It's a standalone hanging statement which does not say anything. I hope you look at it like that. Yes? It's not adding value. It's not leading you to a point. And it was a paragraph in itself. You can see paragraph starts, paragraph ends. With this, I go back to the previous one. You will see that this entire page is one sentence. There was no full stop. There's no full stop in the entire page. So make a note that you definitely should have smaller sentences. They ensure correct grammar. They ensure that you communicate clearly. पूरा एक sentence है, कोई भी full stop नहीं है, but लगा दिया, commas लगा दिए, and the sentence keeps going on. I have read sentences which were 2 pages long, right? For her also the sentence ended on the next page, right? Daughter ke saath. So make sure that you write small sentences, and that will allow you to restrict your thought. What is it that I'm saying in the sentence? Otherwise, you can go on and on. So you see this mistake. Next, same context we read. No, see over here it's written, it already says pre-Gandhian phase, and that's why it says Gandhi. But the question is, should we use honorary term or is Gandhi okay? If there is a title such as Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, you should always say doctor. You know, essays just say Kalam said, APJ Kalam said. He's not your friend, deserves the respect. Essay, Obama said, Obama did this. USA keeps saying democracy, democracy, democracy. नहीं लिखते ऐसे, ठीक है? So be careful about specific titles, but Mahatma Gandhi is okay. मतलब यहाँ पे it's okay because it already started with pre-Gandhian phase. Okay, we read this. So the topic is the first line. The greatest act of courage stems from the simplest choices. The greatest act of courage stems from the simplest choices. Topic clear? Greatest act of courage stems from the simplest choice. I have skipped the introduction. This is page 3. It reads, thus the Indian embrace of NAM showcases the great... So previous page had NAM. Okay, 2 pages of NAM. So thus the Indian embrace of NAM showcases the greatest act of courage stem from the simplest choices. Let us now, so I'm highlighting it for you. ऐसे में गलती है. Let us know की जगह now की जगह no. So let us now delve into understanding the contours of simplest choices. For an individual, simplest choice could be following his passion, despite several bottlenecks. For a society, it could be an act of revolution to fight against inhuman traditional morality, like fight against sati. Like fight against sati by Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar and others. For a century, it could be follow the national interest, like India's following it amidst Trump's tariff pressure by continued Russian oil purchases. These simplest choices act as a conduit of greatest act of courage, as it allows us to have a reflective understanding of life. Simpler choices are rooted in long-term gains over short-term ignorances. Long-term gain over short-term ignorances. Great ancient philosophers' idea of knowledge to virtue is the simplest choice of leading a life which is examined. Correctly recognized. PSIR student. This also tells you why PSIR के लिए essay मुश्किल होता है. ठीक है? And मेरे लिए भी बहुत मुश्किल होता है to read their essays. But tell me what worked and what did not work. Okay. It's showing off of knowledge. So first, what we were discussing was ideas in orderly fashion. Over here, it is just knowledge shown off. Okay. Second is we are questioning the simplest choice itself. Simplest choice. What else? Coherence is lacking. So I will say that throughout the essay, this is page 3, right after the introduction. The student forgot and had an assumption about simple choice, and he forgot to take a step back and think, what is a simple choice? And as a first argument, this is not a good first argument because it does not build anything. It does not tell us why the great acts of courage stem from the simple choices. It's just commenting on choosing or making simple choices. The second problem is those were not choices, were not simple. For example, the act of revolution. It is, I think, the most toughest choice that we can make. It is an act of courage for sure, but it is not a simple choice. Now, what was wrong was not the example. So if the student had phrased the example as, so the idea is right. For a society, it could be an act of revolution. Instead, it would have said, for an individual, the simple choice of standing up. It's a choice that we make as a society. Many choices combined together leads to a revolution. So you had to take it down one notch piche and said the choice which a person made between whether he stands for this inhuman morality or fight against something, sati let's say, whether that woman said something or not. Now it was a choice of the woman which would have been probably slightly easier to understand as compared to revolution. That would have made the example better. Yes? Because now it was not the society going in for a revolution. It was one person who was saying, I don't agree with this. Why do we have sati? It was a choice now, a simple choice now. And that was the great act of courage, when lots of people started doing that. And your argument has become better, your example is better. Correct? Second is, do you see this argument? This is the second argument. These simplest choices act as a conduit of greatest acts of courage. These simplest as a conduit of greatest acts of courage, as it allows us to have a reflective understanding of life, point number 1. Simpler choices are rooted in long-term gains over short-term ignorances. Point number 2. But there's no explanation of why this is true. So the examiner will say कि आपने कह दिया, हमने मान लिया. But what is it that you're saying? कहना क्या चाहते हो? कि ये क्यों हो रहा है? Are you convinced by reading these 2 lines that simple choices are long-term gains over short-term ignorances? We are not. We didn't even understand. You need to be more careful. And this is why we say there has to be a certain depth in your essay. Your essay cannot have different arguments in the same paragraph. Your paragraph has to say one thing, but it has to say that one thing clearly. Again, this is a mistake in essays. I hope you see it. Yes? And then the example, great ancient philosopher, naam likh dena chahiye tha. But great ancient philosopher's idea of knowledge to virtue is a simple choice of leading a life which is examined. Example is not relatable. I will say sati at an individual level was relatable. So we could have had a better example of simple choices. Actually, the argument's not clear, so I can't even think of an example right now. Right? So I hope you see that how this is the mistake we are making in our essay. Now, third. The third is to write concisely, and credit will be given for effective and exact expression. Why do we write concisely? Because you have a fixed word limit. And in those 1,000 to 1,200 words, you have a world full of views, arguments to give. You have so many examples, but you have to choose the right example. And you have to make sure it's worth the time of your evaluator. So I will say that we write concisely with effective and exact expression because there is this 15-minute elevator pitch. Yes, not actually 50, it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, more like 2-3 minutes. So what this idea says is when you meet, you should always be ready with your idea because when you speak to a leader, you're going to get just 2 minutes of their mind space. And in those 2 minutes, you have to say your idea crisp, clear, effective, and exact. You don't say it, you miss the bus. You're not heard. So very often you will see that what happens is you were going on and on. Again, we tell ourselves, मेरा idea जो मैम ने discuss किया है ना, मैंने भी लिखा था. But वो इतना घुमा के लिखा था that it's not being read. It's not giving you marks. जो 5 argument थे ना model answer में. Every test paper has model answers with it. So I had 3 of those. But they came in the end. They came, instead of page 2, they came on page 6. Now, these are things that we have to recognize and realize. It's not about whether you've written them. It's about where did you write them? How clearly did you write them? So, similar to that 2-minute elevator pitch, I will say that we don't have to write just what comes in mind. We have to not disrespect the reader. Your examiner is checking, evaluating so many copies, so many essays. You do not have their mind space. They don't have a whole day. धीरे धीरे आप कहानी बिल्ड करोगे, भूमिका बनाओगे, वो पढ़ेंगे और फिर आपको मार्क्स देंगे. He will start reading it. He will say, I see who this person is. It's stories, not needed stories, and he will move forward. So what happens is you are disrespecting your examiner because, why is it disrespecting? You did not put in the mind the effort to decide what am I saying. मैं कह क्या रहा हूँ? जितनी कहानी आती थी हरियाणा की सारी लिख दी. But what was important? सोचना that what is it in this story that I want to show. What will happen? It will become a 4-hour long Bollywood movie versus a 2-hour long crisp and concise movie. So 4 hours mein you are losing interest. Similarly, the examiner will not read all your points and you will lose, and then we will say marks kyun nahi aaye. So what it also reflects is wisdom in language. It shows you're communicating with purpose and impact. And it shows your confidence to say just a very specific thing. Now, the difference between write concisely and effective and exact expression is, effective and exact expression means choosing the right word. Right choice of words, which is effective. Write concisely मतलब बोल रहे हैं कहानी मत दो, to the point बात करते हैं. ठीक है? As a leader, we've heard so many speeches. As leaders, you will give, as officers, you will give speeches, engage in talks, meet world global leaders, represent India. And again, you will also have those 2 minutes. So the examiner's checking, do you know what to speak in 2 minutes? Do you have your thoughts aligned, or are you beating around the bush? For example, the topic is, the first line is the topic. The glass ceiling is not invisible. It is too high for many to see. Please read this carefully. The glass ceiling is not invisible. It is too high for many to see. It is not invisible. It's too high for a lot of us to see. Now, this is page 4. A broken ladder, something it ends on with a broken ladder. The darkness ensures that the subject does not know the true height of the room and whether his ladder is sufficient to reach the ceiling. It is only when the room would be lit up brightly and the ladder repaired that he would realize how high to go. The glass ceiling, technically invisible until now, becomes a tangible target. Consider, for example, this is a continuation, same page. Consider, for example, the American rapper Eminem, who became the best-selling artist in a predominantly black genre despite being white, coming from a white poor suburb in a fatherless household. The dream of becoming successful as a rapper faced the glass ceilings of identity and black culture. But it was only when Dr. Dre, a black producer, signed him to his label, thus giving him legitimacy, that he could step on the ladder to become a household name for finding the glass ceiling of hip-hop for Caucasians and breaking it. Heading: harms of calling the glass ceiling invisible. When the glass, so first, tell me, story is long. Yes? Too many details. Now you know by now. बहुत सारी details थी. What else? I want you to look at the page. You will see बहुत crowded है. जहाँ पे पहले in one page we saw such less content, this is too much content. It was an essay which was written with this density for 12 pages, making it 1900 words in 12 pages. अगर आपके पास copy होती, you would see that it was difficult to read because there is no line spacing. Lines are too close together. I hope you see that. Lines are too close together. Do you also see that nothing is underlined except glass ceiling, technically invisible, tangible target? कुछ underline नहीं है. अब कुछ underline नहीं है तो हमें पता भी नहीं है कहाँ पे रुकना है. What is it that we are reading? Okay? This is why underlining is important. Small changes, big impact. Now, what is the final argument that came here? Anyone can summarize. What's the argument? So you're saying that the context is a bit off and he's confident of saying it, okay? Fanboying. Eminem, okay? Kanika. Okay, so darkness ensures that the subject, so you know he was a lawyer, he is a lawyer. तो थोड़ा सा law language बाहर आ रही है. The subject does this. It's written with the very objectivity, right? So, and he qualified this year. He's in the list. The darkness ensures that the subject does not know the true height of the room and whether his ladder is sufficient to reach the ceiling. Absolutely correct. This is the argument part. But उसके बाद, it is only when the room would be lit up brightly and the ladder repaired that he would realize how high to go. But then it feels that I feel there is a lack of flow. वो पहले कुछ और कह रहे थे, suddenly he said something which probably was a way forward. It has a sense of way forward, the second paragraph. This could have the example and then the way forward feel aa rahi hai, but this is page 4. And the example goes on and on up to page 5. Long example. Then Harms of calling the glass ceiling invisible. It's a very mechanical heading for sure. Harms of calling the glass ceiling invisible. Some of us question heading zaruri hai ki nahi. So totally it's up to us whether whether we write headings or not. But they have to be better than, just stating your argument. This is like stating your argument. Harms of calling the glass ceiling invisible. GS में हम heading देते हैं. Now you will read this. So it's that. So not very good. When the glass ceiling is called invisible, it invariably leads to the human mind constructing it as an abstract. It becomes an idea of an inherent limitation rather than a tangible, even if unfair, restriction that can be overcome. A narrative of the glass ceiling being extremely high, however, pushes the human mind to find it and break it. Amelia Earhart would never have flown a plane if she believed that an outside force invisible to the world prevented her from doing so. Instead, she wrestled with patriarchy, took multiple lessons to increase her capability, and breached the glass ceiling to become not only the first woman, but one of the best pilots of the world. So what do you see is wrong? Read it carefully. Something's wrong in the example also. Tell me what's wrong in the argument as well as the example. The example's not relating with the topic. Okay. It shows the glass ceiling as a positive thing, positive occurrence. First, it is not relatable to the topic. Second, and I will say, the student is confused. So, if she believed that an outside force invisible to the world prevented her, this is the positive part. But then we say that she wrestled with patriarchy. So, of course, there was something which was stopping her, is why she wrestled with it. So, in a way, it's contrasting. Both lines, both statements are contrasting. And second, when you look at the argument, because argument is over, example aa gaya hai. But when you look at the argument, it is not telling us something, because previous page we've already read. Brightly lit ladder, and we would realize how high to go. We've already read this, remember. And now we read, when the glass ceiling is called invisible, it invariably leads to a human mind constructing it as an abstract. नहीं समझ में आया कि वो कहना क्या चाहते हैं, क्या कह रहे हैं? It is an abstract, okay? But it becomes an idea of inherent limitation rather than a tangible, even if unfair restriction that can be overcome. Pushes the human mind to find it and break it. So do you notice that in every paragraph, in every argument, it starts with a shortcoming of the glass ceiling and it gives a solution. It happened in the previous also, where it said something but gave a solution. Brightly lit overcoming. So wo bar he is telling you glass ceiling hai harmful, but you overcome it. Now this is happening in every page of your essay. Okay? Of course, another problem is it's 1884 words, 1900 words. So that's the second problem. Third, arguments and examples are not together. This is not effective and exact expression. This is not concise. This does not tell you what is the student saying. पढ़ क्या रहे हैं हम? It feels like बहुत कुछ पढ़ लिया. It reads nice, fancy language. But what did it say? I don't know. कुछ तो कहा था. Right? And this is what we work on. This is what we improve. Now, one last. This says, you have to help read it. Data without wisdom and innovation without ethics are dangerous tools. Data without wisdom and innovation without ethics are dangerous tools. During 1991, a stockbroker who had adequate access to stock-related data and astute knowledge about the exchange, the exchange started to manipulate market. His innovative method of gaining funds from banks on behalf of his clients and pumping the same in market on behalf of himself, which was legally and ethically wrong. Bracket क्यों बंद हुआ नहीं पता है. Led to huge surge in market valuation, but as the market crashed, though he personally gained, read it. Now read it. But the small shareholders lost their fortunes. This shows that data without wisdom and innovation without ethics are dangerous tools. Then heading, data without wisdom and innovation without ethics, a road to tragedy. See, A, tragedy. In common, so now do you see that reading में इतना effort लग रहा है पढ़ने में कि याद नहीं समझ नहीं आया what is written. We were focusing too much on reading the words that we lost the essence of what was written. So if any of us has a doubt handwriting important है कि नहीं, this is your answer. Okay, that अगर पढ़ा नहीं जा रहा है, your copy is not legible, what will happen? I see lots of people smiling who are making a mental note, थोड़ी तो writing सुधारनी पड़ेगी, right? So what will happen is the examiner will not probably will read your 12 pages, but there will be no value addition. He will not know what you've written, and then we lose marks. So if you have slightly illegible handwriting like this one, this is, I will say, very illegible because बहुत effort लग रहा है in figuring out the words. What you should do, improve it now. Do some writing practice every day. If you are not doing that, it is going to affect your, effectively you have placed an upper cap on your marks. If you wrote that same essay in better handwriting, you would have probably, let's say, secured 120. You don't work on your writing, you secure 100 marks. And for those 20 marks, हम GS में, optional में इतनी मेहनत करते हैं. And here it is as simple as handwriting. And for handwriting, earlier I said you don't need writing classes. What would have changed? The student just had to write more straight. Everything is tilted. सीधा लिखना था बस. 1 second, A is not closed. Probably the words which are taller, longer, D. This is too spread out. अलग word लग रहे हैं, 2 alphabets लग रहे हैं. So just writing few alphabets correctly would have changed the writing. It would have become legible. And most common alphabets to work on are the vowels because they keep occurring again and again. So if you have bad handwriting, do a mental self-check and start working on it. And this is why essay improves slowly. It does not improve in 10 days. Now, arguments. So having looked at all the essay copies and examples, introduction, arguments, it is going to be a big mistake in essays when we start thinking as a format. So the problem with arguments is that we force ourselves to think. You know, when we force ourselves, what happens is we don't know the structure. We didn't understand what am I writing, but likhna tha, for example, in this copy, likhna tha argument, बस वो कुछ abstract लिखना था, and probably the student knew कि नहीं समझ में आया है, मुझे भी नहीं आया है, but लिख दिया है. So what happens is when we look at introduction, body, conclusion, when we look at arguments as a ritual, that introduction सोच ली, body सोच ली, conclusion सोच लिया, I've thought of my arguments and counter arguments, what happens is we lose our essay. Why? Because it shows that it is mechanically being done. The second problem is that we think of quotes as evidence. Of course, quotes are evidence, but we think quotes is the only content. Instead, we have to be argumentative. When we are argumentative, what we do is we are more critical and logical. We reflect understanding. We do not force ourselves to reason. Rather, we first ask, why am I reasoning? What is this topic saying? What is happening? Okay. For example, let's say the topic is the time to repair the roof. Most of us have heard this topic. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. So the topic is not literally the roof. It's not the sun shining, but it is proactive action. यहाँ तक सबको पता है. So now when you think of arguments, you first start with why is it important for an officer? कुछ तो कारण होगा ना दिया है. And it has stood the test of time, this quote. So we will think about it, we will write, because why is it important for an officer to plan properly in time? But that does not mean that last minute efforts are not important. No matter how prepared we are, we still need a plan B. So this in a way negates the topic, but it also becomes a part of our essay. Because you are showing that depth, In earlier, someone had highlighted multidimensional. So the dimensions do not mean polity, economy, social. Next कौन सी होती है? Pestle. Technology, then environment, I will say legal, law, pestle. These are not dimensions. They are just hence proving the topic from polity perspective, economy perspective, society perspective, different perspectives. But it's not telling कि आपने क्या सोचा. आपने सिर्फ इतना सोचा that I've read my polity, let me quickly get an example which proves the topic. I get an example from economy, environment, etc., which is very, very bare level thinking. Now, in an essay paper, we are expecting marks equivalent to the optional. 130, 140. There's a lot of students who come and say कि मुझे 120 चाहिए मैम, मुझे 140 चाहिए. And then there are students who say मुझे 90, 100 चाहिए, and I say why do you have such low targets? है ना? We need to know our own strengths and weaknesses, and most important for both of them is to work hard. If you have a strength which is your language skills, of course your targets will be higher. If you do not have the said language skills or expression, even then your target should be good because you had good analysis. Now there are two places where you write essay in the exam. One is in the language paper and one is this essay paper. जब हम language paper में essay लिखते हैं, they are not looking for thoughts, they are looking for language. They are looking for grammar. Over here, we do not overlook the language and grammar because if it's not there, your essay becomes illegible. We are unable to catch what you are saying, the meaning of what you are saying. So language grammar plays a role, but it's a secondary role, not the only role. जब English में हम essay लिखते हैं, the only role being played by is language and grammar. Here it is also the brainstorming. And this is why I often have said that essay can be divided into how you write your essay and what you write in your essay. And both these should be practiced separately. When we say how you write your essay, that is you writing your essay in terms of language, in terms of grammar, structure, underlining, how neatly are you writing, what are your headings like, how big are your paragraphs, how big are your sentences. All of these go into how does your essay look like. You know, it's the feel of your essay. And when we say what do we write, so both can be practiced separately. What is the brainstorming? What is it that you are saying? There are different ways of saying it. The different ways of saying it is the how. But what is it that you said? For example, in this one, when we read Haryana. So the anecdote was right is what you said, it worked. The anecdote was right, that was the word, but how it was being said was wrong. So we need to practice both. I hope you see now. This anecdote is correct, but how it is being said is not correct. And for your essay to score marks, a high score, 150, 160, you need both how and why to work together. Okay? The second thing is that the most, yes. So we all, a lot of us carry these labels with us. Vocabulary, grammar, Hindi, peak vocabulary, limited thinking. I'm an engineer. I don't know how to think humanities. I'm a humanities person, so I know how to think. Now, the essay writing that we've done until now had a different objective. We always write with an objective. So it is time for you to overcome your, these Hindi, vocabulary, grammar wale, all your labels that we've given to ourselves, because these are reasons and we think that marks nahi aayenge kyunki humne validate kar diya hai. But what is needed is if you have that label with you, you should work on it and make it your strength. You've recognized your weakness. That is the tougher part. Easier part is accepting and acknowledging it. So the tough will be in an essay paper to overcome the weakness that you have. Now, for example, a lot of us don't write our essays. How many of us have written an essay? Oh, wow. Great. So, but anyways, so a lot of us usually don't write our essays, I should say. And this is because हमें डर लगता है. We feel that a lot of you don't come to me for mentorship. You say that बड़ी सारी गलतियां थी मैम इसीलिए आई नहीं. We've spent 2 months. We've not come to you because there were so many mistakes. But the problem is you wasted 2 months. So we see that the first time we rode a bicycle, first time we picked Lakshmikant. पहली बार जब मेंस आंसर लिखा था तो बहुत टाइम लगा था. Today there is more muscle memory to the extent that you can revise your Lakshmikant in a day before your prelims. To the extent that you can revise your entire GS1 syllabus before the exam. And GS1 is not just geography, it is geography, history, and history is also world history, modern history, art and culture, ancient history, medieval history, and society. And we revise all of that and we go and write in 3 hours. Right? So things will become easier. These weaknesses will become your strengths only when you overcome it. So some of us who suffer with language, this is a note to them. Ki when you start your essay preparation, and even otherwise for life, it's a life skill, that please start writing every day. You write today, you read it the next day. Don't read it the same day because you'll have a bias. Apna likha sabko acha lagta hai. So you read it the next day, you will be slightly more objective towards it and correct it. This brings us to a second problem. We don't read our own essay. Likha to sabne, everyone raise their hands. How many of you read your own essay after writing it? Few of us. Very few of us. Right? Because why I made you read all these copies was so that you know what is wrong. If we know what is wrong is when you read your own copy, you know what is wrong. Then you work on what is wrong instead of just going on and writing 10 essays, 20 essays, 30 essays. A common question, ma'am, कितने essay लिखने चाहिए मेन से पहले marks आने के लिए? We've had a student in the class, he came up and said, I wrote 33 essays. And still marks were in the 80s. Why? Because those were 33 essays with the same mistake. Effort tha, but smart work nahi tha. That was a lot of hard work. But what you needed was smart work. So what happens is we are forcing ourselves to think. So please do not force yourself. Do not think कि आज तो 10 page worth of arguments सोचने हैं. You should have so many arguments that it is going to exceed 10 pages. Then we crystallize our thoughts. We concise them. And that's how you get 10 lovely pages of essays. Do not be limited by 5 argument आ गए. So this is again a common thought. Third common thought. 5 argument आ गए, चलो let's think of counter arguments. 5 counter argument आ गए, चलो essay तैयार है. Let's brainstorming is over even if it took 10 minutes. So for those who've interacted with me, there are times I read your essay and I say, ये 10 minutes में हुआ था ना? 10 minutes की brainstorming and more often than not the answer is yes. Why? Because we were forcing ourselves to be a part of a structure where we had minimum output. 5 argument, formality thi, 5 arguments, 3, 4, 5 counter arguments, introduction, conclusion, essay is ready. Let me write it. Now, essay paper was, I had started this thought earlier that it is as scoring as an optional. If it is as scoring as an optional, but it requires probably 1% of the hard work, then where is the hard work? उतनी मेहनत नहीं करनी है ना ऑप्शनल जितनी essay में. It's also given by the fact that most of us come after prelims to do the essay जब qualify हो रहा होता है. So this means the hard work is needed in terms of this approach, where you have to be curious. If we are not curious, if we do not build a muscle memory of thinking of arguments, then our essay feels mechanical and forced. We are forcing us to think. जैसे आपको that glass ceiling mein, you could see arguments, but they were not adding up. You could see wonderful examples, Eminem, Amelia Hart. He had given global examples. Some American series also, web series also. But the essay was still not good. Why? Because the essay is not a set of examples. The examples are not your essay, they support your essay. And this is again a mistake we make. So 2 mistakes. First, examples support, and second, do not stop because you see 5 arguments written. Maybe those 5 arguments were similar, which we will look at in the class, how to recognize them. Now, last but not the least, to get from here, forced thinking to being curious, there will be a shift in perspective. Please shift that perspective that GS was very fixed with fixed answers and fixed keywords. Essay is testing the dimensions of your thought. कितना सोच सकते हो और कितना widely सोच सकते हैं. The more concrete arguments we have, the better it will be. So do not stop at 5 arguments. Who knows 1, 2 and 3 were similar and then you found more arguments. Okay? So let's try to make sure of that. Now, we'll read one copy on arguments to see what is the problem with arguments. The topic is courage to accept and the dedication to improve. Delete ho gaya. Dedication to improve are 2 keys to success. The courage to accept and dedication to improve are 2 keys to success. In this essay, we will try to understand how success in various fields majorly depends upon 2 factors: courage to accept, dedication to improve. Bullet points. If we look in history, we see many examples where people use these 2 factors to achieve success. Eklavya from Mahabharata accepted the inherent limitation of his archery learning. Being a Shudra, clearly mentioned in the bracket, not needed. Lots of eyes got raised. He still overcame by practicing in front of Dronacharya's statue and became even better archer than Arjuna. Raja Ram Mohan Roy analyzed the situation of 1800 society. He had dedication to improve the condition of women, example Sati. Sati was Raja Ram Mohan Roy? Okay. पिछले वाले में it was ईश्वर चंद्र विद्यासागर, है ना? So we have to be sure. And was successful in persuading William Bentinck to pass Abolition of Sati Act 1929. So instead of asking you what's wrong, I'll say bullet points, no argument, example पे example, all history. Too much being a Shudra नहीं चाहिए था. ठीक है, example Sati in the brackets, as if it's a GS answer. So this is the, and examples are not supporting anything. So this student has felt कि examples देने हैं. Different dimensions are history, polity, economy, but now we see that it is not really saying anything. Okay. So, and we'll read a good essay as well. Walking on new ways, leading the way. The topic is, as you start to walk on the way appears. As you start to walk on the way appears. It takes immense courage to break the set norms of the society and tread onto a new path. The only thing that guides us on the new way is the faith we have on our thoughts. Siddhartha, a young prince, soon to be king, left his wife, son, and all of the material possessions he had to lead a life of renunciation and self-discovery. As he started to walk on the path of enlightenment, he came to be known as Lord Buddha. Startups in modern day's economy are an embodiment of the will to work, something, something, something. So I hope you see that there was a very clear argument, immense courage. And then the path opened up. Example, Gautam Buddha, courage, path opened up, followed by startup. फिर आए 142 marks. है ना? तो short sentences, good handwriting, correct grammar, perfect language, exact, crisp, concise, effective and exact expression. All the elements of the notification are there, all the elements. So we'll also take a look at the questions that have come over the years. 2025, last year's paper. Truth knows no color. As you read these topics, also think which topics would you have written on. Truth knows no color. The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Thought finds a world and creates one also. Best lessons are learned through bitter experience. In section 1A, how many would have written on topic 1? 2? 3? 4th? Everybody. And that's what happened. Fourth. Next, second half, section B. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. The years teach much which the days never know. Is it best to see life as a journey, not as a destination? And contentment is natural wealth. Something, something. Luxury is artificial poverty. Luxury is artificial poverty. How many for topic 1 of section B? Topic 5? 2? 5 of us. Topic 6. The years teach much which the days never know. Couple more. तो दोनों पे लिखना है. Okay. Which one? 4th or 5th? Oh, sorry, 5th or 6th? 6th is better? Okay. So 3, 4 of us. It is best to see life as a journey, not as a destination. Lot more, lot of us. And contentment is natural wealth, whereas luxury is artificial poverty. 2, 3, 4. 4 of us. So we see again that 2 things. First, most of us could understand one topic and everybody knew कि इस पे लिखना है. Second, we made a choice. We made a choice of selecting a topic. So this means there is inherently कुछ तो हमें पता है कि क्या करते हैं, और you understand the topics. And you know what your comfort area is. So over here, why I asked you this exercise was, some of us feel कि ये तो topic बहुत easy है. It is, best lessons are learned through bitter experiences. In the exam hall, you sit and you know कि इसमें तो सब लिखेंगे. But I am a pro in essay. In the test series, I was getting 140. So why should I write on what everybody else is writing? I will write on truth knows no color. अब क्या होगा कि, और mathematics is the music of reason. अब क्या होगा कि जिसके 140 आ रहे थे टेस्ट सीरीज में, will suddenly find it difficult to write. Because now you're not at your best performance, you have challenged yourself अपने आप for a paper which is challenging, कि मैं तो मुश्किल वाले question पे लिखूंगा because I want to show off something. See, for the examiner, the topic will not matter. Every topic is answered objectively. It is addressed objectively. When you choose a question in the optionals, optional also has choice. Do you choose a question which is tough क्योंकि नहीं आता था, or do you choose it क्योंकि आता था? Then why essay? You try to think. जो आता था उसमें your try to think will be better. Right? So I have often thought of one student in this context. His essays were great, amazing, but then he went to the exam hall, he said, I'm a pro. So he wrote on mathematics is the music of reason. फिर marks नहीं आए बहुत, ऐसे 110, 115 आए थे. Why? Because he deliberately, we ourselves say, Abel मुझे मार. मुझे तो अच्छे marks चाहिए ही नहीं, मुझे tough पे लिखना है. So this means we know what the topics are, we know what we want to write on, but we are just, we have to learn the art of brainstorming and thinking in a structured manner. These are also some easier topics over the years, in case some of us have not seen them. These are, History is a series of victories won by scientific man over romantic man, 2022. A ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what a ship is for. Time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. Please notice, both are in the same year. The time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. Very similar to ship in harbor is safe, but that is not what a ship is for. You cannot step twice in the same river. Just because you have a choice, it does not mean any of them has to be right. The process of self-discovery has now been technologically outsourced. There are better practices to best practices. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And patriarchy is the least noticed, yet the most significant structure of social inequality. Please notice these topics. Even the last topic, it's not a write-up on patriarchy. We may feel कि आजकल तो philosophical topics आते हैं, so GS is tough, but it's not a write-up on patriarchy. It requires your analysis. And with this, we will brainstorm. I was expecting more excitement. I'm excited for you to brainstorm a little. I give you 10 minutes. Open your notebooks, write down the topic. These ones? ये लिखने हैं. Okay, give me a minute. First, everybody else, write down this topic. We live in the best of all possible worlds. It's a PYQ. We live in the best of all possible worlds. I want you to think, what would you have written if you were writing? This is essay preparation. Think the meaning of this topic first. Think, why is it true? Why is it true will be your arguments. Now you have 10 minutes. You should think, what is the meaning of this? Why is today the best? Is it necessarily the best of all possible worlds? Oh. Think more. Very good. Very good. This too much of India. India. Too much. Diversify. Kanika? That's 5 minutes. More like 6. 4 more minutes to go. The objective is not for you to write an essay, it is for you to think of your arguments. I'm not looking at language, just brainstorming. Couldn't understand the topic. आ रहे हैं? We live in the best of all possible worlds. So before I read, can you tell me what is the meaning? So one of the meanings is the reality or present is the best, minds and thinking matters, seeing the best in everything. Anyone else with a different meaning of we live in the best of all possible worlds, what does it mean to you? Idealism. Okay, anyone else? We live in the best of all possible worlds. What does it show? Satisfaction, fulfillment, contentment, expecting the best, because that is the only thing you have. So as well, it is the best option that you have, right? So we live in the best of all possible worlds. Diversity of ideas, but why? Okay. So he gives us an argument, and this is also a problem with essays. Now let's say diversity of ideas gives us the best result. But then you have to connect this thought with the topic, we live in the best of all possible. So how does this diversity of ideas, which gives us the best result, mean that today we are living in the best of all possible worlds? समझ रहे हो कि what you have addressed is only best possible world. You have to tell me why this diversity of idea implies we are living in the best of all possible worlds. Topic is not the last 3 words, the complete topic. So, for example, I'll come back to you. Some of us have written, for example, since capitalism has opened up the world and advancement in technology enabled us to create our world in best manner to live in. So some of us will do history, society, and we'll think that in history, why it is the best of all possible worlds, because capitalism has opened up, right? Now the problem here is that, correct, this thought is right. But what you have to do is you then have to think that, is it true only after capitalism? Because, or was it before capitalism also? So probably when, then you keep thinking, so a lot of you nodded, ki nahi, ye sahi nahi hai, before capitalism was also, why? Why do you say that even before capitalism it was the best of all possible worlds? Raise your hand, tell me. Tell me. What are the other worlds? But what are the other worlds जिसके अंदर ये best है? See, the argument is, okay, so my first question was it is only after capitalism, your argument, that we have the best world? So now he says that no, we have virtues, which makes it the best world. But this means virtues were always there. You know, before capitalism, before and after, they have evolved, but they were there. So now can I say that this best, the meaning of this best itself keeps changing? This best is also situational. But what it definitely signifies is contentment. It means that what you have, there is always going to be a restriction, limitation on resources, on what we can and cannot do. So given those restrictions, it is the best of all possible worlds. When agriculture was being discovered, even then, those are early man would have thought this is the best. And at least we are now sitting and we have a house to live in. We are not out hunting and gathering. They must have felt that. Then we discovered iron. They must have felt, oh, we are better than what we were doing earlier. We discovered computers. We said, oh, this is a new way of doing things. It was better. It was the best of all possible worlds. So do you see that although the argument was since capitalism has opened up, some of us took history, and we thought that one argument came for, also saying this for you, last seat, yes? So what you have to do is you have to look at what you thought from history across different timelines and think, why is it true across everywhere? For example, he said good virtues. So now I can say one of my arguments will be good virtues is an important ingredient of best, which is stable. So this best has 2 components, some things which evolve and some things which continue. So now my one thought is building upon the other. So we started with capitalism, which took us to situational best. Best kept improving. So this was the best. It improved. We got a new best. I'll say a new best. This again improved and we got a new best. Correct? And every time it was the best of all possible worlds for that situation and time. There are better practices. You've done the class. There are better practices to best practices. Right? So similarly, we say now this situational means it is dynamic, but some things are non-negotiable, like honesty, truthfulness, some virtues. Correct? So I hope you see that how we took one thought and we built an argument. Now, any other argument? Okay, so this means now he says the best possible world is one where best is yet to come. So first question which I ask based on his argument, again, so what happens is you do not think of an argument and then you quickly move on to 1, 2, 3. I see a lot of us writing 1, 2, 3, 4. Apne bhi kiya hai. A lot of us have done that. But you sit and you think about your argument. So he says, best is yet to come, which means utopian world, everything being perfect or best is a utopian idea. But the topic says it is the best of all possible worlds. Now how? Why this difference? It's opposite to the topic. So why? So it's a counter argument now. But how? It is yet to come. So this means that yes, today is the best of all possible worlds, but that does not mean कि हम बैठ गए बढ़िया है सब अच्छा हो रहा है. We keep striving for something which will be better. Better practices to best practices. Correct? So this means nonetheless it is the best, but we do not take it as stagnation. We do not say we have reached the end of our game. We still keep trying. So best is yet to come is just one line otherwise. But the argument will be the thought behind it. You'll have to develop that thought. So the best is yet to come. Agar ye likha or example de diya, it will feel incomplete. What will be the argument? This will strive us to be better. And this, so now you are writing it towards the way forward, end of counter arguments. It's a counter argument, but even within that, you will write it towards the end. Why? Because it's giving you, it's helping you reach a solution. I hope you see that. Yes? That it is end of counter arguments. Any other argument? किसी के पास argument नहीं है? One second. So you're saying that not necessarily the best. Bilkul. So it is not necessarily the best. It has limited experience, biases, etc. And now, do you see that I can connect it with situational? It is not necessarily the best. There are some biases, limited resources, lots of ifs and buts, right? Constraints. So, but, which means my best was situational, but given the situation, if you are putting in your best effort. So, based on this new thought, we expanded the situational also. And we said that this means it is the best when you have given your best. When this is the best effective usage that can happen. Of course, it is going to be different for everybody. Now, this brings us to the next question, which is next argument, which I saw in a lot of copies, was best is also subjective. For example, when we are in a very, very small village, which is yet to get electricity aati hai, they say this is the best now. Whereas when you're in a city, let's say New Delhi, and you're used to a lot of resources, your best is very different from the best that that villager had. It's going to be very different from the best of someone in a developed country. You know, our best depends on where and how we are. Because we are a sum total of things around us. That is framing us. So I have taken the core argument of situational and discussed 3 things on it. 3 different things. This is why I said, don't think कि situational हो गया तो मैं अब अगला argument सोचूं. We think more about it. And it helped us come up with different understandings and application of the situational itself. That this situational is not just across time. This was time, right? This was time. It is not just across time, but it is also across space. Same time, different places, different people. Someone who is suffering from, let's say, a disability versus another, their best is different, their best effort is different. Sorry? Scarcity. Water scarcity, yes. So water scarcity. So unke liye that one small action itself was a necessity, whereas some things which we take for granted are necessities somewhere else. They are missing. There's scarcity. Yes. So that also becomes an argument. है ना? So this means that if we are living in the best of all possible worlds, it is also our responsibility to help others ensure their best. And this is why India is also a welfare state. As a welfare state, sabki zimmedari hai that we help others also bring out the best, so that we live in the best of all possible. Again, so there will be lots of arguments. One second. There will be lots of arguments, but again, what I'm trying to bring to you here is the depth that we go for. We don't stop with capitalism ki wajah se best hua. ठीक है, वहाँ पे, so what we do our brainstorming in layers. So your first thoughts is what you've written on your paper right now, right? Some of us had a lot of focus on India. You had India focus. For example, we've written that there is some cognitive dissonance.
We were living in a myth in the sense we were in a sweet spot geopolitically. So we were in the best of
all possible worlds.
Then saying it is not the complete reality.
So now for example, the argument is that we were living in a sweet spot where we felt that we are in the best of all possible worlds. But that was not the reality. If I take just this example and this story and build on it, I have limited the scope of my essay because I'm not thinking. Then I'm only writing about India and our essay does not become unidimensional. Similarly, if we write, now counter arguments, I'll read few. Why is it not the best of all possible worlds? Because first, status quoist, prevents change. Second, it overlooks structural inefficiency, which means it is overtly optimistic. Very good. Third, it's a statist approach, prevents citizen participation in social and political change. I want you to observe that first, second, and third points are similar. पहला point भी status quoist है. Second point overlooks structural efficiency, overtly optimistic. Status quoist था इसीलिए optimistic थे इसीलिए we were status quoist. And third, it is a statist approach, prevents citizen participation because again status quo. Current system and technologies become obsolete, status quo. So there were 4 counter arguments, but in a way, all 4 were telling the same story. But when you look at this point, so a lot of us brainstorm as questions. When we brainstorm as questions, for example, the question is clearly there, why is it not? What happens is you are only answering the question. जैसे हम GS में करते हैं, challenges. Why is it not the best of all possible worlds? Answer number 1, 2, 3, and 4. In an essay, we do this differently. How do we do it differently? We think we live in the best of all possible worlds. So now you have already agreed with the topic, and then you say that it's not the best of all possible worlds. Why? Because, for example, his argument, status quoist. Yeah. So now you would never have come with best is yet to come if we were only answering why is it not the best of all possible worlds. If the question is specific, the answer will be specific. So instead, what do? We question different parts of the topic. You visualize different perspectives. Whose best are we talking about? Sometimes what we feel is the best also means that we are not putting in effort and we say that हाँ चलता है attitude कि इतना ही मिलेगा. It stops us from being curious. It stops us from putting in the maximum effort that we could have. You know, the thought that we live in the best. It makes it normalizes lots of things. For example, many years back, decades back, it normalized sati. It normalized female infanticide. So why was that normalized? Certain ills of society, because we had a thought, aisa hi hota hai. We were not curious. So this means this thought, now I'm building on best is yet to come, is kills curiosity, it kills the questioning, it makes us normalize behaviors that we should not have. And how do we come to that argument? It will not be by asking, why is this true, why is it not true? It will be by visualizing the topic, whose best am I talking about? Is it really the best? What you have, is it really the best? And now you think more. No, it's not best. Sometimes we are told this is the best you can do and we believe it. There is this weightlifter who, there is a limit to human body of how much weight you can lift. And he lifted more than that and broke the world record, and it has never been broken again. He set a record. And he says that, of course, the best that human body could have done, he exceeds that. So how did he exceed? By changing the perspective. He said, I imagined my 2 daughters are falling from the mountain, from a cliff, and I'm holding them, supporting them. It gave me the willpower and the strength, the mental strength, to carry the heavy weights beyond what was humanly possible. For the time duration, it was humanly impossible. Why? Because he realized what the world is saying is not the best. I can overcome it. So this means another argument here is this best is also a mental limitation. It's a limitation on us, which forces us to limit ourselves into a box. And now I want you to please observe your brainstorming and think that this is diverse dimensions, multidimensional. You're not saying the same thing again and again. I'm not just talking about being status quo or subaltern voices. Yes, I am talking about different things. And each point adding some value one over the other. Correct? So when you brainstorm, do not brainstorm thinking I have to think of 5 arguments, I have to have a structure, but brainstorm more widely. Now, any other arguments? Yes. So what she's saying is, first it comes with a disclaimer. I don't know sahi hai ki nahi. Please be more confident. Apne kuch socha hai sahi hoga. We just might have to build on it. Okay. Now the world's, so again, this is also a way of brainstorming. And this is where I will say, don't show your cards to your examiner. You know, we think in a certain way. For example, I am telling you that I thought of best and I asked questions from best. Whose best am I talking about? Is it really the best? You know, I'm asking questions from the best. Then, and different questions, not just why and why not. So similarly, when you break down, let's say, the world into 3, best, worst, and somewhere in between, and you conclude with somewhere in between. So do not tell your examiner at the start कि ये 3 worlds होती हैं, तीनों पे 3 pages, 3 pages, and 3 pages. We don't do that. Then it is showing your cards that this is exactly how I thought. Instead, what we do, we build our argument. So for example, the argument would have been, now the argument is Madhya Marg is where we live. So what we could have said, that it's important to keep striving for the best that we discussed. Best is yet to come. But equally important is to be content in what we have and in terms of action that we are putting in. Why? Because this is the Madhya Marg. Knowing that this is the best of all possible worlds, yet to come, we strive for it. We don't just plan it, we think it. Which takes me to another thought. Best kiska? Sirf hamara ya sabka? Sabka. सबका साथ सबका विकास. So we and again you write that it's a when you say that I'm striving for the best, you say that I'm striving for the best not just for myself but for everybody, for others around me who need my help. And again, it is another small added dimension. So the key thought, best is yet to come, built on it, Madhya Marg ke saath. Again, if you notice, this was coming towards the end of counter arguments. And do you see that how beautifully it is leading to conclusion? Yes? So this priority of points is when it says, when the syllabus says, write in the right order. This could not have come on page 2, page 3, page 4. It had to come somewhere around page 8, page 9. And we have to know this, कि ये counter arguments के भी end में आएगा. Similarly, जब इसके ऊपर हमने further मध्य मार्ग build किया, the minute you hear मध्य मार्ग, you know ये conclusion में आएगा, so it has to come in the end of the essay, probably page 10, page 11. Now, way forward. What is the way forward for this essay? How do you conclude it? Like, way forward. Pragmatism. Okay, what else? Okay, so one is pragmatism, explore more. आप कह रहे थे? Resilience. Conclusion. So the only conclusion in the essay will always be Madhya Marg. You know, you cannot say we live in the best, you cannot say we don't live in the best. So the conclusion will be we need to keep striving for ensuring that it is the best and becomes better. There are better practices too, best practices. We would put that in the counter arguments again a little before this one. Very, very good point is best to zaruri tha. Probably even for Hitler. But at what cost? So we have to ensure the means are also right. You know, so when we were talking about best for everybody, we also talk about the right means, about the ethics and the values and resilience, etc. So do you notice that the way forward is not GS way forward ki करना है, government को ये करना चाहिए, as an individual I should do this, as society India should do this. No, the way forward is not a GS way forward. Rather, it is taking the entire discussion you had in arguments and counter arguments forward. It's closing your discussion. It is not a prescription किसको क्या करना है. We are not prescribing कि government अगर ये करेगी तो it will be best of all possible worlds. You know, it should look after the poor. It should ensure basic minimum needs at India level or world level. We should ensure that any refugees, etc., who are struggling, everyone, there should be no such situation. There should be peace. और फिर India की भी बात कर लेंगे. Social evils जो अभी भी बचे हैं, they should also not. No, that's not a conclusion. That's just easy work. The tough will be wrapping up this discussion in a way which puts an end to it. So why do we, when we conclude, rather when we write a way forward, we also know a better way forward will come when you are aware of your arguments and counter arguments and you kind of balance both of them. So in an essay, when you were arguing, you were agreeing with the statement. When you were counter arguing, you were against the statement. So as an examiner, he's confused कि अब follow क्या करना है. So in the way forward, we strike a balance between our arguments and counter arguments. We find a solution based on taking our arguments and resolving the counter arguments. And that is how we do a way forward. तो इसीलिए तो practice करते हैं. The question you are asking me is कि जब हम arguments लिखते हैं तो वो GS के आ रहे हैं. GS के examples आ रहे हैं. लेकिन arguments are the reason that example is true. नहीं तो GS is the example. Now, I will give you one statement to help you understand. When we write a GS answer, we had written this earlier, 1, 2, 3, 4. There was a statement on the top which you were answering. There was a point and then there was an example which was data. This data point existed because of this point. And this point addressed your question. I hope you all agree. ठीक है ना, इतना तो सही है. So this means what we had to ask ourselves, let's say उन्होंने capitalism सोचा या आपने कोई GS का example सोचा, so you have to say why is it true in the context of my topic. You'll get an answer. Why is it true? It will be a generic subjective answer. That subjective answer is your argument. It will connect your example. A lot of us were thinking, for example, India, other examples, right? So that will, you have to think, why is it true? Let's say India was in a sweet spot, but that was not the reality. So you have to think why. This means it was not the best, but we were sometimes, again, this leads me to an argument which I have discussed, that this notion of best sometimes is misleading. It can be misleading, it will change. And why is it the best? We have to be curious and questioning it. So I thought, why is my argument true? Why is this example connected to my topic? Why is it an example, a correct example? And that connection over here helped you get your argument. It is this questioning your example which gave you your argument. What is the assumption? An essay की सबसे बड़ी enemy is the assumptions. So the assumption was it is true. Because we, again, you know, beggars don't want to, they refuse to work. Assumption. Lots of assumptions we saw today in different copies. Glass ceiling is abstract, therefore people want to break it. Assumption. But what we are not answering, okay, but why is it true? You have to tell me why what you're saying is true. And the minute you do that, it becomes an argument. So what does GS give? GS gave us examples. A lot of us are used to pestle approach that gives us examples. What we have to do better is think, correlate that example with the argument. Okay? I hope this helps you understand. Class करके. और इसको orderly fashion में कैसे करेंगे? By practicing, and essay will grow slowly, one after the other, one foot in front of the other, one step at a time with the help of classes. Now, so this essay brainstorming also told us that there is a gap between what we know, what we think about the topic, which can be written as an essay. So right now, what we thought about the topic was probably not enough to write 10 pages, due to which it's going to be important for us to bridge this gap. You can bridge this gap by brainstorming more and more. Initially, it is not important to do one topic every day. It is rather more important to think on one topic deeply every day. Same topic, until you have exhausted it. Due to shortage of time, because we stretched the first half, I have not discussed all possible arguments here. They're still coming more and more. As we talk, more arguments are coming. The problem is, in the exam, we go alone. We are brainstorming as a class. So this means कि आपको अकेले, one person had to have all these arguments. And how will that happen? It will not happen in a day. So those who intend to brainstorm one topic every day, change that, take the same topic and exhaust it. Look at it from different perspectives. Be very, very curious. Ask, question. You know, we have lost the art of questioning. As children, everything gets questioned. कि ये क्यों है? Why is the earth round? Red light पे क्यों रुकना होता है? Green पे क्यों? You know, small children, I'm assuming they ask such questions. So you should also ask, why? Who's best? Is it really the best? Are we living in it? What about our forefathers? What about early man? Everyone was best. So ask those questions. The more you ask, the better it becomes. So instead of doing one topic daily, take one topic, churn it as much as you can. Next is, I will say, so the flow which each one of us should have ideally is, when you do a class, you interact and think. द थंब रूल इज नॉट कि क्लास कर ली, नोट्स गए ऐसे के कहीं और, हम कहीं और, जीएस पढ़ा पूरा वीक, एंड देन वी कम बैक आफ्टर अ वीक, एंड देन वी अगेन ब्रेनस्टॉर्म इन द क्लास. टेस्ट लिख लिया संडे की संडे एज अ फॉर्मेलिटी, करना था ना वो टेस्ट लिखने, ऐसे लिखना है हर हफ्ते एक. So what that does is that hurts our performance because we are not developing the brainstorming. So please, when you go home, think about the same topic and brainstorm more. And ask different questions apart from why and why is it not. So when we come to the class, we interact and think. I will not per se give you only my value addition points. Rather, I'm going to ask you what are your thoughts, so that the way I help capitalism, I will show you how to think better, more efficiently. Then you go home and you take another topic of your choice, which will also be there in the handout as a home assignment. You brainstorm that. Brainstorm and brainstorm. Maybe brainstorm 1-2 topics. Then on Sunday, you write a test. Why? Because end of the day, it's not just brainstorming, it's also the how you are writing. It might not be a good essay. You might get very, very less marks. But it is going to be important for you to write. अगर लिखेंगे नहीं तो improve कैसे करेंगे? So please write. Once you write, you will be able to discuss in a mentorship. You could discuss with me. You could discuss with other mentors for essay at Forum, both online and offline mode. And then you introspect again based on this discussion कि मेरे essay में और क्या improve करना है. You know, what you do in the class is how to brainstorm. Simple tools, techniques, but how you use them is going to be you. And it will require different feedback. Now, when I say कि first essay में marks नहीं आते, for example, Rishabh Yadav, this year he is rank 132 and scored 131. But in his first test in June, he scored 30 marks, which increased to 55 marks in July. 55 marks in July after 2 months. And this was right before he wrote the exam. So we all start somewhere. We all start somewhere. It may not be the best right now. But unless you write an essay, you will not know how are you doing. So please write. You may start with even less than 30, 27. आए हैं लोगों के test में. But this is also the reason why when UPSC gives 84 marks, it's as good as giving 42 in a half length. And from 42 in one essay, 84 marks, which is, or rather I should say 61 marks, it's 30.5. And when marks have improved to 122, it means 61 per essay. So this 30 marks improvement per essay, if 30 marks were increasing overall, that's 15 marks per essay. That improvement will happen when you brainstorm and write. And both can be done separately, both can be done together, but they are not limited. Each does not limit, one does not limit the other. So please brainstorm a lot and write a lot. So initially, so the question, it's a very good question. Are we supposed to brainstorm in the limited fraction of time or unlimited amount of time? So my answer is, initially, do not limit yourself with kitna time lag raha hai. You know why? Because when we limit ourselves, even if you want to limit, but then don't leave the topic, keep thinking ki aur kya tha. Recognize, first, right now, we need to explore ki hum kitna soch sakte hain. If you think on one topic 30 minutes, you jump to the next topic 30 minutes, you left that brainstorming incomplete. You don't know what you missed. Since you don't know what you missed, you will not know what to do in the other, what was missing. So my suggestion, you brainstorm in limited time if you want to, but make sure that you go back, revisit it with more time in your hands, probably asking a lot of questions with an open mind. And then you recognize kya kya aur aana chahiye tha. After that you ask, why did I miss it? What are the questions I could have asked to get to that answer? And now you have a new set of questions. You've expanded your question bank. From why and why is it not, you are expanding. Let's say I gave you an example of why is it the best? Whose best are we talking about? So there's another topic which comes. Happiness, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. So you start questioning is it just the meri happiness when I was starting my journey, ending my journey, along the path? Again, I'm just asking the same question. Who's best? Whose happiness? So I am creating a framework, but I am creating a framework in the context of kind of questions I'm asking. It's not fixed कि ये 4 questions थे, ये पूछेंगे और answer आ जाएगा. If it was that easy, then essay would not be fetching high marks. Essay requires your hard work in the form of thinking widely. So what you should do today, you should attempt the brainstorming that we've done. Attempting as in write more, think more on it, and probably write an essay. Please write an essay on it. It's a PYQ topic. Second, you should read 1 article daily. And when you read it out aloud. Article could mean just 1 column, 2-3 paragraphs of your newspaper. Why? Because the better language we read, the better language we write. When somebody is weak in mathematics, they are expected to solve a lot of questions, it becomes good. You were weak in answer writing, you wrote a lot of answers became good. You want to improve your language, write good, you read good. And then we are able to reproduce better. And why do we read and not just read in our mind, read loudly? Because when you read loudly, you also understand the chunky sentences that you have, basic mistakes that you are making in your own writing. Otherwise, how will you self-assess? We should get into a habit of reading the right language. And when we read in our mind, we are only looking at the essence of everything that is being said. We do not read properly. And last but not the least, write a page every day. 1 page, 1 paragraph. After you write, try to ask yourself, what am I writing? कहना क्या चाह रही थी मैं इस paragraph में? Does it have a meaning? Is it random? And in the course, in the essay course, you will have classes, test series, and mentorship. For classes, they are divided into theme classes and workshops. When we say theme classes, these are themes such as gender issues, social justice, intelligence, but it is also philosophical themes like rationality and reality, values and morality, life and happiness, etc. And workshops are the how of essay writing. How do you introduce? How do you conclude? How do you brainstorm? So it's a mix of both. All the classes will be based on brainstorming exercises, and then we have test series. For test series, you will be able to write a test every Sunday. All the half-length tests have been scheduled for Sundays. And so Wednesdays we have a class. Wednesdays is offline class. Thursday will be the online class. They are separate. And Sunday will be the workshop. Before the class, Sunday workshop, you can come early in the morning, write your test, and then do the class. Make sure to have something to eat or drink in between so that you have more energy in the workshop. One should not get sacrificed for the other. And this also for mentorship, there is mentorship.forumias.com where you'll be able to schedule your mentorship if you don't know already. And there's also my email ID. Some of us have been complaining कि Anika ma'am के slots नहीं मिलते हैं. I'm an email away. So, but the initiative will have to be yours. Anika@flavian.com. Those who are doing classes, if there's any change, for example, today's workshop was originally scheduled for yesterday. There will also be there's also a WhatsApp channel for EGP 2026, where you will get regular updates if there's any change in the class, handout, anything. So you might want to follow that as well. Okay? The turnaround time for your evaluation for the tests would be 5 days. Worst case, within 5 days before that, your test will be evaluated. And any other question that you have? I've said everything I had. Any question? Class timing is 11 a.m. Classes is offline Wednesday 11 a.m., online Thursday 11 a.m., and workshop is Sunday 11 a.m. Okay? We end the course on 19 July. Definitely, we end the course on 19 July, and the exam is in August. So 19 July is when we end the course, like the classes. Then you have your 2 full-length tests to write. Now, any other question? I hope that this session was helpful. You at least have some working strategy on what you were doing, how to do it better, and how to make sure that you perform to the best of your ability in the essay exam. Yes? So thank you for coming. All the best.
Forum is starting a residential program and specifically designed for those students who didn't clear prelims earlier. At that moment, I felt that this program is tailor-made for you because what you described in that email, it felt like somebody was describing me.
नहीं सर, मैंने नहीं बनाया, ये मैं क्रेडिट नहीं लूँगा, आपने बनाया है, मैंने उसको गाइड किया है बस। और हर माता पिता करता है ना, कौन नहीं करता है सर, कौन नहीं चाहता है सर।
Fortunately, sir, I cleared prelims and then, sir, the same schedule for mains, FRC 4 started at the same place and again I made the same promise. चाहे वो AWFG का टेस्ट हो या SFG का हो या करंट अफेयर्स की क्लास हो, आई विल डू इट, सब कुछ करूँगा जैसा जैसा मुझे बताया जा रहा है एंड फॉर्चुनेटली इट वर्कड अगेन. देन आई स्टेड देयर फॉर इंटरव्यू आल्सो and fortunately I got the rank.
And before coming to FRC, literally there was a lot of broken confidence and I thought I would never be able to clear pre. This is the biggest hurdle of my life. But then ever since December, things changed and I just followed the plan to the hilt. Gave every test, even the open test, all the simulators, the CSAT simulators also. It was for the first time that I cleared the prelims, I cleared the mains, and then I cleared the interview and finally got a job under Government of India. I was a part of FRC 1 and FRC 4. So I think FRC played an instrumental role in making me what I am today.
So I was scared, very honestly. I think a lot of my motivation for so many things is just a fear of failure. I'm not sure what a therapist or a psychologist might say about that.
मेरा नाम डॉक्टर आकांक्षा सिंह है। मैं गाज़ीपुर ज़िले से रहने वाली हूँ। मैं ऐसे पेशे से डॉक्टर हूँ। मैंने MBBS और मास्टर्स कर रखी है। मैं गायनाकोलॉजिस्ट हूँ। ये मेरा सेकंड अटेम्प्ट था जिसमें मेरी 301 रैंक आई है UPSC Essay 2025 में।
So first is a sense of discipline, whether that's SFG or sometimes that I followed in AWFG also for the mains part. A sense of discipline that this is the target for the day. You got to complete your syllabus, immaterial whether you're completing 80%, 70%, 100%, but you have to come up, show up every day and write the test.
Many congratulations to all of you who have cleared the prelims. Let us give them a big hand.
I subscribed to the second level of SFG. I think I told you so. I had gotten to know about sir from a very close friend, which was honestly like my paradigmatic change, if you will call it, towards prelims preparation came when I heard sir speak on prelims.
%65% of IS toppers under rank 10 and 20 in CSE 2025 final list have been students of Mains Guidance Program MGP by ForumIAS Academy, including rank 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 17, 19. Mains Guidance Program MGP 2026-27. Join Mains Guidance Program, India's most trusted program for mains preparation. To know more about MGP, speak to an IS topper near you or email us at contact@forumias.com.